Hey guys, this is Coffeechug, and I'm here to give myself a challenge. I do a lot of stuff in STEM and Maker. One of the things that I have to constantly recalibrate and remember is to put myself in the mindset of a teacher who's in a classroom, doesn't have a budget, maybe doesn't have unlimited supplies, but wants to do a lot of these cool things. And so as I was preparing for a workshop in which I'm going to be traveling across the United States to do a LEGO EV3 Mindstorms workshop, full day, to get teachers excited about STEM, I thought, what better way than to get them experiencing building a robot for sumobot. I mean, that is something that kids just eat up time and time again. It's something that can be done in an afternoon. And so I was like, that's what we're going to do. And I got to thinking, I'm like, I'm going to need a sumobot arena. Like, you just can't, like, do it on a table. Like, it's got to be the full dojo. And so the challenge that I set before myself was, could I create one that could also fit in my suitcase? So I have a suitcase full of materials and supplies, so it can't take up a lot of room, it can't be heavy, and it's got to be portable enough to fit in my suitcase in order to make it to the destination. And so I thought I can do that. And then I gave myself one rule. The rule that every teacher has to face, even though I know teachers spend an ungodly amount of their own money on their classroom and their students anyways, is I need to be able to do it using only supplies that I have in my house. So forcing me to reuse and repurpose things that I have. And so that created quite the challenge. And the test is, could I do it? So let's find out. I documented my journey, the setbacks, what I learned, what I didn't, and then more importantly, will this actually work? So let's get started. Hey guys, how you doing? This is Coffeechug. So what we're going to be doing here is repurposing this Lego wall that I had created for my nonprofit. I actually need these base plates for a workshop I'm building out, and I also need this board. And so this is a good activity for me to document a journey, which I think I can use some discarded materials to create what I need to. The goal is to convert this into a portable sumobot board, one that I can put in my suitcase, so we can get rocking and rolling. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take all these base plates off, and then we'll get started into the brainstorming of the construction. Alright, so I got it all cleared off. The good thing is the glue and stuff is still on, but this is going to be on the back side, so it's not a big deal. So what I got to do is try to create a sumo board. And if you've seen it, it's an arena, the dojo. And when I measured my suitcase, I realized that I'm not able to do the 40-inch typical legal sumobot thing because I've only got a suitcase that is, this is my suitcase, I've got 18 inches of clearance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a circle that's going to be smaller than the 40. We're going to bring it in to 36 inches. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half, this circle. And then what I think we can do is we can put a door hinge on the bottom side so I can fold it up and then open it up and we should be good. So what I'm going to do is turn this over. And this is the arena that I'm going to do, and what I'm going to use, I'm going to repurpose, and I'm going to be creating my own compass. So I've got this old piece of, not old, I got some scrap drywall because I'm learning how to drywall in my basement right now, which is a job I never want to do again. And what I'm thinking is that I can mark off a spot, say like right here. I'm going to measure out 18 inches, and this is where I'm going to then put a pencil, and then I can put a nail here, and then I can draw this big, it'll be the diameter of 36 inches, which is what I need. But using this scrap drywall, so why not put it to good use as opposed to just throwing it out. So I'm going to take my measurements here, and let's just start it right here. Let's just say that's where my nail is going to be, and I'm going to measure out 18 because that's what I want this circle. And eventually when I go all the way around, it's going to be 36 inches. So I'm going to... Okay, so the first thing I want to do before I drill in this and get this ready is I want to find the middle of this board. So I'm just using an old piece of trim that I just happen to have laying around. You can use whatever, it's just a straight piece, measure from corner to corner. And I'm just going to go and get the middle so we have a good secure spot here. Alright, so my next step here is just to drill the hole that I'm going to put my pencil through. So this is just going to get it started. And then I can pull this out and I can eventually make this a little bit bigger. So this is where I'm going to stick my pencil. And then over here is where I'm going to actually put the pin in the middle of the table now that I got my X. I get this through. And it's going to stick it right in the middle here. Just so I have it. That'll be an easy patch later. So now what I got to do now is go ahead and get my pencil in, and then I'll be able to make my big old circle, and then we can cut it out. So I just kind of crammed the pencil in just enough for the lead to go through, which is a little hard to see. And now I'm just going to press down, and it's going to form this perfect circle on this table. And then that is going to be the Sumobot board. So I know it's a little hard to see the pencil mark, but it's all right there, and it's formed a perfect circle. So nothing a little pencil and drywall and screw can't do. So I don't have every tool in the book, so one of the things that I can do here is I need, before I cut, is I'm going to get the middle of this circle marked. And so I know that this is the halfway point of the circle here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Actually, right there in the middle, and I just square up my T with this hole, and I know that this will be where I'm going to cut it right down the middle a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this off here real quick. So when I look on YouTube, there's all sorts of different ways to cut circles with different jigs and tools, and I just don't have those. I don't do enough woodworking projects that warrant tools. So I'm simply going to use a scroll saw. It's going to take a little bit longer, it's going to take a little bit more time, and I'm just going to go very slowly by hand and cut out around the circle, my trace, and then I can just sand up the edges. So not the best approach. If you work with tools and have all that, man, it's easy, but this is for someone who doesn't have it. So I'm going to get these on the edge. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting it out and see how it looks. All right. So not too bad, actually. Now what I'm going to do is we'll go ahead and just sand these edges, smooth it out so nobody gets any splinters. And then we will cut around the middle to get it in two halves here. Alright, so I've cut the circle into 4 sections, and I don't know if you can see, but I've labeled them A, B, C, D, and then what I've done is I've matched them, so once I get sanding and go to put them back together, I know that like 3 and 3 go together. So I've got A, B, C, and D. So I've just matched up 2 and 2 there, 1 and 1. So I know where they go when I go to set them up and get them ready. And then obviously when I go to paint them, I'll have to make another little notch on them. But for now, at least I got my labeling, so I know which is right side up and what piece goes with what. So now I gotta go through and just sand, smooth some of these edges here, and then figure out a way to connect them so it works. Here we go. All right, so what I've got going on here now is I was trying to figure out a way for this to work. Keep in mind, this is for a workshop. It's not designed to be perfect, but it's designed to get things through an airplane and into a suitcase. And so what I've decided to do was I cut these support beams. I had some scrap lumber. So my goal is to create all this without spending any money. And so what I've done is I've cut one piece that's 24 inches, which I will then, when I arrive, I will glue this on, or I can screw them either way. And then I cut two 14-inch pieces. This will be on the underside, but I'm just showing you on the top for the demo purposes. So this way, I'll get all the pieces secure and tight, so it'll be nice and smooth. And then what I will do then is once that's glued, I'm going to create some legs, which I'll show you here in just a minute. And I can screw those in or leave it as is. And so I'm not going to glue this on now. I'm just going to trust that it's going to work. And we'll show you those pictures once we get there. But I think if I glue all this down on the underside, this is going to be strong enough to hold. The other thing I can do is I can add screws, and I'll screw in. So I've got some scrap 2x4, and I'll just create some little blocks, just little legs that I can stick on the ends, and I can screw those down to further strengthen it and get this board a little bit further off the ground. So that's what I'm going to do right there. So now in the meantime, what I got to do is get things ready for the paint job. And so what I've done, just take another piece of drywall. This time this is 16 inches. So we need at least a 2-inch perimeter all the way around for the different colors so your robot can actually see the end. So I'm going to go through now and I'm going to trace these pieces out so I can start the painting process. So the way that I'm going to do this is really just pretty simple. I know the middle is always right here every time. So now I can just kind of go through, hold this down, and draw my line. And that's where the paint's going to go. So you can kind of see that there. So I have a nice edge trim. All right, now time's come for the paint job. We're going to paint the middle black, and we're going to do the outside white. So I'm going to paint the trim outside by hand and the inside with some spray paint. So what I'm doing is just throwing down some painter's tape. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's more just for the edge here. I'll just go ahead and do this to all 4 pieces here. Alright, so I just so happen to have like 3/4 of a can of spray paint. It's black. So I'm going to go ahead and try that for the inside just to see how it turns out on the 4 pieces. And then I'll have to track, I think I got some like white ceiling paint sitting around from projects, so I'll use that for the trim. And we'll see if we can get all this done without having to spend a penny, just using stuff sitting around the house. Alright, so once it's dried, it looks pretty good. Now I just need to get the trim painted white. Now, I'm trying to do this on a budget of 0 by just using everything reusable, recyclable in my house. So it would be really easy just to go buy a can of white spray paint and literally be done. Just tape the edges and be done. But you know what? Just like life, just like educators, you know, you can't always continue to be asked to go buy stuff on your own over and over and over again. So I'm trying to model this work here. And so I found some old paint, but I tried stirring it and it is just not good. But I'm gonna try it, and if not, I found some white acrylic paint that we can use. So I'm just gonna have to hand paint this with the good old paintbrush and get this going. So we're gonna test it out and see what happens here, and hopefully I don't ruin it. So here we go. Sometimes we gotta make do with what we've got, right? That's what life's all about. Oh, not too bad. Looking good. I would not put this on my walls in my house or my ceiling, but it's the perfect chunky consistency for a sumobot board. Alright, so there's one. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest, and then we'll see how it turns out here. So there she is in all her glory. Paint's drying, we got the white coat. See, we got a little bit there of the seams, and so what I'll probably end up doing is bringing some electrical tape just to bind the crosses. But here's what I plan on doing to secure all that. Once again, trying to keep track of how do I do this without spending money. So you've already seen me cut these. These are going to be those structural supports underneath where the crosses are, underneath on the bottom side. I then added, or found a scrap piece of 2x4. So I cut these, and these are going to be the legs that are going to sit underneath here, like so. So this is going to give me the 3 inches of clearance to get the arena off the board. And then like this, I will place those on all the legs and in the middle. And then found a bin of old screws, and so these screws are actually just short enough. We'll screw right in and lock in, and I'll just screw this so this is flush with the board there, and then I can just Sharpie the top of this black so it blends in. And then we use the black electrical wire tape to fill in that seam, and I think we're in great shape, and I think we've got ourselves a portable sumo board that's going to be awesome. And then we can use these lines here where the cracks are to have our robots face each other or face in opposite directions so it's nice and smooth. So guys, I just built a sumobot board easily in an afternoon on a budget of $0 using scrap. There was easier ways, there was better materials, but we got it done. So the real challenge is, will it work? And now you're going to have to wait for the to be continued until the workshop, until I actually get to where I need to go, and I'll follow up with a video actually show you how it turns out. So until then, I'm going to figure out how to get all this stuff packed into my suitcase, let the stuff dry, get it there along with the robots and everything else for a week-long of training, and I will keep you posted with the update of the portable sumobot arena.